Uh-oh, guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody? Julie, hey, guess what day it is? Oh, come on, I know you can hear me. Mike. What day is it, Mike? Leslie, guess what today is?
It's hump day.
Woo-hoo! Hump day, yeah!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bill's Retro Gaming Show. Welcome to another Wednesday Hump Day show. And as usual, I have got a packed show for you guys tonight. I got a ton of stuff that I want to go over with you guys. Honestly, so much stuff, I don't even know if I'm going to get to all of it in the time that we have for tonight. Some of it might wind up getting bumped or just kind of mentioned a little bit because there's a few things that I think are really important that I want to talk about tonight, including some late-breaking news and info regarding Basic Fun, some stuff that I didn't even have kind of on the docket, on my notes for tonight, but this came up kind of last minute and decided that it was worth talking about, so I'm going to bring some stuff up tonight on Basic Fun. I've also got a little bit of some interesting news for you guys. This is something of an exclusive regarding the game system, or G-AIM system, whatever you want to call it, the new light gun time crisis system. I have some interesting news for you guys on that I think is going to be really exciting for some of you who live in or around my neck of the woods. Any of you who are in the Northeast area, you're going to want to stick around because I think you're going to find this interesting. But let's get started. Let's jump into the show. Let's see who's here. Had to reboot my PC last minute because, of course, it decided to freeze up on me right before the show. I had to reboot everything. So I don't want to miss anybody. Let me kind of look at my chat on the other screen a little bit as well and see who we got here. We've got JJ is here. I see the Be Me has joined us. We got Steve Sale, of course, here. Always good to see you. We've got J-Rod in the house. We've got Ritual Dello leading the charge for the Bilbarians. I might have more on that later as well. We got Biggie D in the house. Always good to see Biggie D stopping by. We got Jim the Pacers fan. Let's see who else. Of course, we've got our moderator, Jason Little Alien. Always good to see you. I tell you, this is a guy who really looks out for people. Not just, when you're on your show, but looks out for the community in general. Just an all-around great guy. Obsidian Contraption. I stumbled on that one. Is here. Good to see you as well. All right. And as usual, I know more people will be jumping in and saying hi, like Mike Hawkhertz, who is here as well. When the Bicep 3-wheel deck and... Oh, okay. Very cool. We're going to be talking about that a little bit tonight as well. All right, so we're going to jump in, and we are going to say hi to Joystick, who just showed up. What's up with Bill and chat? And then we're going to start talking about stuff right away because, like I said, I got so much to cover that I really want to jump in and get started on everything. And I want to start out, I think I'm going to hit actually some of the biggest news right up front, which I know runs contrary to how these things are supposed to be. I know you're supposed to save all the big stuff for late in the show so that everybody kind of for the whole show. But I want to make sure that I really touch on this stuff, that I have time for it, and then push some of the other stuff off to later on. If there's time, I can get to it. If not, no big deal. But let's start with this. And, of course, we've been talking about this a lot. So this is one I want to kind of get out of the way. I don't want to spend a ton of time talking about it. But obviously, we had those leaks through the port news about the Big Buck Hunter Mossy Oak Deluxe, and of course the Terminator 2 Deluxe as well. Then we had that EB Games site in Canada listing them. Now we're finally starting to see Arcade1up kind of own up to these, and it's at least with the big Buck Hunter Mossy Oak one, is actually on their website, is actually out there. You can purchase it. It says here Walmart. You can get it at Walmart. I don't know what other retailers are possibly going to be showing this at the time, you know, are going to have this. I haven't done like a comprehensive search on if anybody else has this at this point, but we're right on with the price, $599.99. Going to be on this. You can see all the proper dimensions on here as well. 17-inch BOE, so that's confirmed, of course. Pretty much confirming everything that we've been covering on this and that we already knew. But now, for those of us in the U.S., we can see that this is now available. Let me see if it actually shows up. If I click on Walmart, is it actually there? And it is. Look at this. You can actually buy it right now. This is available right now. This is not a pre-order. This is something that you can actually go ahead. You can purchase it right now as well. Of course, Arcade1up have been doing their little promo videos here. If you didn't see this, shut the sound off on that there. You got this promo video for it. Gameplay, same gameplay we've seen before, but of course now you got this thing sitting in, of course, what looks like, you know, somebody's hunting lodge or something. The decor, of course, fits in with some kind of a hunting lodge or anything like that. But this is their little promo video for the big Buck Hunter Mossy, for sure. We got B. Kirby, the Chicago arcade guy, in the house. Hey, B, always good to see you. Thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out with us tonight. But there you go. That is confirmation about Big Buck Hunter. Again, pretty much everything that we knew, but now it's actually available. Now you can go ahead and purchase it if you want. Walmart has it for sure. Whether or not it's actually going to show up in Walmart retail stores, my Walmart hasn't carried an Arcade1up in their store for like the last 2 years, so I don't expect to see it. But you know, leave me a comment at some point. Let me know if you actually see one of these out in the wild. But if not, you could certainly order it and have it delivered. All right, let's talk about something that I think is a little more interesting, and that is buy stuff. So I know you guys have seen this recently, and a lot of people have been covering it. I covered it a little bit more about that in just a second. But the triple 360 wheel deck pre-orders are now open. They went live earlier today, so you can actually go ahead and pre-order this now if you're interested in one of these. My understanding is that they are going to be shipping these out in August. When in August, I'm not sure. It just says they're going to be doing it at some point in August. We're only a couple of days away from August anyway, so I'm guessing probably mid to late August. Once they get enough orders in for this is when this will ship out. I'm not going to spend too much time really going over this because I did a fairly comprehensive overview of this whole website, this whole ordering process, all the different options and things like that. You guys can definitely go ahead and check that out. As a matter of fact, it's on the Buy Stuff Store website. They actually reached out to me directly before this hit the website to give me a little sneak preview of what it was going to look like. They said, hey, you know, are you interested in putting together a video, kind of doing a walkthrough of the order process? Because I've done one or two of those in the past, and they seem to like them. So I did one of those for them. They were kind enough to put it up on their website. This is now the second of my videos that they featured on their website. The first was a walkthrough for the ordering process for the Star Wars Arcade1up mod that they did. So love these guys. I mean, it's so cool that they kind of reached out to me to give me a little info on this and give me a chance to put together this video for them. So I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but just some of the highlights on this. I just think this thing really does look super cool. The graphics that you can put on this, the real coin door on like their super pedestal or even on the ALU is really, really awesome. Obviously, this thing is not cheap. You know, this thing is going to go anywhere from the base price of $900 just for the deck and the pedals together to upwards of $2,500 for the full kit to deck out your ALU. I mean, you're basically just keeping, at that point, you're basically just keeping the bottom shell of your ALU and gutting it and doing everything else to it. It's only a few $100s cheaper than their full-on Super Sprint that they did. Really, what was that, like $3,000? You're looking at almost $2,500 to deck out your ALU. But man, is it cool. I mean, like I said, if you go all out on this thing with all the graphics, all the bells and whistles, the LCD marquee, the mini PC, bump up the riser, the whole thing on this, you said, well, you're looking at almost $3,000 actually for this whole thing. So yeah, like I said, only a couple $100 cheaper than their full on Super Sprint arcade that they did, but it is pretty cool. I will give them that. Thanks, Piggy D. Appreciate it. Definitely appreciate it. Beyond that, I did want to touch on a couple of other things with this because, again, a lot of people are, of course, remarking about how pricey this thing is and all. Keep in mind, this is the first of these that they plan on doing. Also, and this is only available in a format that will go on one of their pedestals or to upgrade your ALU. They are not planning a 3-wheel version of this to like maybe upgrade an Arcade1up, because the Arcade1up form factor just isn't going to be big enough to accommodate it. There's no way they could make this deck and have it fit in. And I don't even know that it would work for like an X. Well, they don't have an XL racer, so it's kind of out of the question there. It's designed to maybe upgrade one of the racers like Outrun or Ridge Racer or something like that. However, for this, after they get through the shipping it out and everything, they want to see how well this one does, and then they're going to figure out what they want to do from there. But right now the plan is to do a dual deck with just 2 steering wheels and a single steering wheel deck, both of which, as I believe, are going to be mods you can do for an Arcade1up as well as an ALU or a pedestal format or any other format. If you want to get like just the single deck with that you can just strap on to your AtGames Gamer Pro if you've got that on a pedestal, or some other machine. Like, I would love to get the single deck one and put it on my arcade and see if I can run it with the Arcade OS just to see how that works. As far as maybe doing something that would work with Glenn's FU coming up, and we know Glenn is already coming out with a deck that's going to have 2 steering wheels. He's working on trying to also do pedals and things like a shifter and stuff for that as well, although as of right now that's not available, but that's something that may come at a future time. Whether or not Buy Stuff is going to do something that will work with the GRS Build-A-Kate FU, I think they are, from what I understand, they are considering it. I think they need to work a little closer with Glenn, get all the dimensions, get all the options and things like that. So that's something I plan on talking about with Glenn to see where they are with that. If he's even aware that they're interested in like getting the full dimensions of the Build-A-Kate FU and all that, and making sure that they can put something together for that, because I think that would be a really cool option. If they can do a triple wheel like this, or even the dual wheel with their pedal setup and everything. Not that it would take away from what Glenn's doing. I think it would just be a different option for things, especially if they do the artwork on it and then people want to get art to deck out their FU. Maybe they can even do art that would work with the Build-A-Cade FU like they've done for the ALU and everything. I mean, if they can go this far for the ALU, if they've got the dimensions for the Build-A-Cade, there's no reason they couldn't do their own artwork for it. So you could deck that out as a super off-road or a super sprint as well. So definitely something to keep in mind, guys, if you're paying attention. What do we got going on here now? We got James Hates Everything in the house. Good to see you, of course. We got the Cornercade here. Let's go, of course. Mike Hawk-Hurts, I got the base unit and PC for under $1,200. Still a lot, but planning to get a lot of use out of it. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it is a really cool looking module for sure. Let's bring this up for a second. A little look at the whole thing. This is a video they put. As a matter of fact, they did this video because of my video, if I'm being quite honest. They even told me so, because I said in the video that, you know, they didn't have any really good pictures showing off what the actual deck looked like, a close-up of the deck, what it actually looked like. I was hoping they'd just add some pictures to the website. They might still do that at some point. But they did this video specifically in response to that, to show people a close-up look at the deck, specifically here in an ALU, so people could get kind of a better idea of what the whole thing is going to look like, rather than the smaller pictures on the website. So awesome to them. These guys are great, man. They really do listen. They really do appreciate feedback, and it's cool that they go out of their way to do something like that, so you guys can get a better idea. You can get a better picture of what this is before you guys go ahead and purchase it. So if you haven't checked out this video on the Buy Stuff Stores, Buy Stuff Arcades YouTube channel, be sure to check that out. Here we go again. B Kirby dropping memberships to the channel. 5 memberships. Thank you so much for doing that. I always appreciate it. You guys are awesome. A little bit more information on memberships in a little bit. I might be doing something different with those coming up in August. All thanks to some suggestions from the community, specifically one person in the community. Buy stuff for the win. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, so I'm going to move on to... Yeah, I want to do this next. I want to move on to the next big thing. Now, this was something that was kind of late breaking news. This just kind of hit like an hour or so before I went live on the show. So I wanted to bring this up and give this some time. Again, I hitting some of the big stuff right off the bat here, hoping that we definitely have time to get through as much as possible. But in case you guys missed this, or if you're not part of the Basic Fun arcade deals and discussions, Neo Geo 64, a.k.a. Paul Mindeman, put this in the site, just a little while ago, hopefully. I'm always concerned bringing up Facebook, because I was messaging with a few people back and forth earlier. Cornercade, if you're still paying attention, please do not send me any Facebook DMs right now. Like you were doing earlier. Thank you very much. I would definitely appreciate it. But let's go over this. So this is some news. This is courtesy of Paul Mindeman on Facebook. Also, big shout out and hat tip to James Hates Everything, because a lot of the pictures and info on this came from him as well. So you guys have been doing some amazing sleuthing, finding out some more information on Basic Fun. Sorry, pardon me, my nose is a little itchy tonight. It means I'm going to get in a fight, hopefully with nobody in the chat. So let's go over this a little bit, because I think there's some really cool stuff here. So he says, for those of you who caught the Basic Fun discussion on last night's Cornercade live stream, and if you missed that, go back and watch the replay for sure on that. So I know they talked about some of this stuff last night as well on Danny's show. Got a bit more information and some confirmations to share based on first-hand discussions with a retail buyer who's placing orders for these products. There's more to come, but this is what we have for now. So some interesting stuff. So it looks like right now they've got at least 4 countercade-sized cabinets that are planned to come out in time for Christmas, before the end of this year. And these are supposed to retail for right around $180. Now, the ones he has listed here are Asteroids, Tempest. Let me see, can I blow this up anymore? That's a little better, I think. Asteroids, Tempest, Centipede, and WWE WrestleFest. So this is really interesting to me that 3 of the 4 countercades that they have listed right now are all based on Atari games, Asteroid, Tempest, and Centipede. It's going to be interesting to see what other games, if any, are going to be on these, or are these going to be just single game countercades? Thank you, Jason, for throwing that in the chat. My mic is cutting in and out. I hope that's not because of whatever the issue was that I had earlier. Test. Let me bump things up a little bit. Maybe if I get a little closer. Let me hang on a second. Let me just check on something really quick here. Nope, volume looks good on it. That looks good. You guys are funny. All right, let me get back to this. Hopefully everything is okay. And yes, absolutely. If you're interested at all in Basic Fun, go ahead and join the Facebook group as well. Getting back to this, so again, going through this real quick. So we're going to have an Asteroids, a Tempest, a Centipede, and a WWE WrestleFest countercade, supposed to be out in time for Christmas. So it'll be interesting to see, like I said, what these look like. Are they going to be single games? Sound fine. Good on volume. That was just Danny being Danny then. Stop making trouble. Moving on to the deluxe or ultra cabs. Again, these are supposed to retail for about $500. Have things like light up marquees, speaker grills, things like that. It looks like they have 3 set to come out before the end of this year. Centipede is the one, and WWE WrestleFest are the 2 that we saw through that toy book article that came out. Centipede originally said to include 50 games, including Atari 26 era titles. So probably going to be very similar to that Atari 50th that came out from Arcade1up. WWE WrestleFest, all games are going to be done by Arc Systems with licensing rights exclusively from them. So this whole thing might be an exclusive to Basic Fun that nobody else is going to be able to do right now, at least. So it'll be interesting to see what other games they wind up including on here with WrestleFest. I'm guessing, a couple more wrestling games, maybe, some brawlers like Combat Tribes or things like that. So it'll be interesting to see what these actually wind up being. Star Wars is supposed to come out in this size as well. Same titles and form factor as the Arcade1up version. Said to have important differences with the yoke, so that'll be interesting to see. I wonder if it'll be something closer to Glenn's flight yoke than the cheaper one from Arcade1up. I don't think the one on Arcade1up is bad. I haven't had any issues with it. I don't know. Glenn's is obviously a better quality. So what theirs brings to the table over the other ones. Of course, early rumors suggested Return of the Jedi side art, but that hasn't been confirmed. So we'll have to see what they have planned for that. It'd be interesting to see if it's just side art in kind of a generic form factor, or are they going to try to mimic the actual look of a Return of the Jedi, which would be interesting and weird. So definitely something to... I have a hard time believing they would do that in this ultra size. I would think if they were going to do maybe Star Wars in the Supreme size, maybe doing that because it's a bigger form factor, but we will have to see. Mike Hawk Hurts, I buy a lot of countercades and party cades, but always wait and get them free or at deep discounts at clearance shops. Yeah, we'll see what happens with these. No idea where these are going to wind up going in the future, of course. Can't remember, did Arcade1up do a Tempest countercade? No, not officially. They had a model at their store in Miami, like a promo version or a prototype version, but it never actually hit retail. It looked interesting. I think they could have sold well if it had gone to retail, but typical Arcade1up, for whatever reason, it didn't come out. So maybe it has something to do with their the falling out that they ultimately wound up having or supposedly having with Atari, and they just couldn't do it. Maybe I don't know, but it never happened. So I'm curious to see what happens with this one. We did see a picture of the Tempest one in that toy book one, and it looked pretty cool, although the screen looked kind of small on it. So I'll be curious to see these when we get better pictures and more information. And then of course we have the Excel size or Supreme. Again, apparently they got plenty of these coming in time for Christmas. So hopefully we'll see more info within the next few weeks or months. These are supposed to be at club stores only. Costco, Sam's Club, BJ's. So hopefully these show up at more than just say Costco. So if you don't have a Costco near you or you're not a member, I know I'm a member of BJ's Wholesale, but I don't really have a Costco or Sam's Club close enough to me to warrant a membership to them. I have a BJ's literally down the road. So hopefully we see some of these at those, and it'd be interesting to see if there are exclusives for certain stores or if it's just the club stores in general, and if one has them, they all have them, kind of a thing. Likely options are Centipede and WWE WrestleFest, based on the images that James Hates Everything got. Of course, we don't know what products will be in which club stores, so a little less info on the Supremes and how that is going to come out than some of the others. Of course, we know they did talk about a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but that doesn't seem to be on the docket for 2025, most likely within the first half of 2026, according to what these retailers are saying. Previously said to be available in deluxe and Supreme sizes. And the games list, we'll have to wait and see. Turtles in Time, 1, 2, 3, console titles, Cowabunga Collection, possibly other Konami beat-em-ups. Yeah. I could tell you a story about that, but I'll save that one. And it's not what you think. As I do want to say something really quick about this Ninja Turtles, and this is just speculation on my part. This is no inside knowledge or anything like that. When they say possibly other Konami beat-em-ups, one thing I would caution with people is to temper your expectations. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is a license in itself, not just Konami. It's Nickelodeon, I guess, primarily owns the rights to these. So if they're going to put something else on here that's not TMNT based, it's probably going to wind up being something that is more of a generic license. I know a lot of people have talked about Sunset Riders. I think that might be a possibility because I think that was its own thing. I don't know that was based on anything like a comic or anything like that. So something like that could be a possibility. I wouldn't expect, say, X-Men to show up on this or Simpsons. Bucky O'Hare. I wouldn't expect any of those type of games to show up on this just because of kind of the cross licensing. I'm not saying it's impossible. Deals could be worked out, but I wouldn't expect it. I would expect get some Rugrats on that TMNT. That's funny. That's funny. If they had other games, if Konami had other games that were now owned by Nickelodeon or something, that would be kind of an obvious one. But I don't think there's any out there. So just temper your expectations on that. I don't think you're going to get. I don't think you're going to get your holy grail 4-player Konami beat 'em up cab that's got like every Konami beat 'em up on it. It's not going to happen because of licensing. But is it possible you could see some other titles on there that aren't, really related to other, that are just Konami games and aren't like based on a specific license? Sure, I think that's definitely a possibility. Of course, as I said in the beginning, a lot of credit goes here to James Hates Everything for a lot of these pictures. A lot of these we've seen before. This one I thought was kind of unique and interesting. Wanted to bring this up real quick because you can see this seems to be a look at the box art for the Supreme series on the Centipede. And you can see what looks like something of a games list here. You got Centipede, you got Tempest, Asteroid, Asteroid Deluxe, Millipede, Crystal Castle, Space Duel, Major. Basically, a lot of the same games that were pretty much the exact same games list that we saw on the Arcade1up Atari cabinets. So, I mean, honestly, let's if we call a spade here. This is the Arcade1up Atari cabs just being put out by a new company. Let's be real. That's what these are. And I'm not necessarily saying that this is a bad thing. Oh, Mike. Tonight, first one. Congratulations. Welcome. But I do think that this is some interesting stuff here. And congrats to Paul and James and everybody for getting some of this information out that people can check out for themselves. If this is true, and if this stuff is supposed to hit before Christmas, I think we've got a lot to look forward to for the end of this year and the beginning of next year in terms of new and interesting titles coming out from somebody arcade related, even if it's not Arcade1up necessarily. If they're still going to put out things like Big Buck Hunter and Terminator 2 and all, even though technically some of these could be considered rehashes from Arcade1up era with the Atari cabs, with Star Wars and things like that, I think people would still be interested if there's some different aspects to this than what people have seen in the past, especially if some of these wind up coming into the Supreme size, like a Centipede that Arcade1up has never done an XL in, or if Star Wars makes the grade, or Ninja Turtles or things like that. I think it's going to be really big for people. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. All right. Anyway, so that's kind of the late breaking news on Basic Fun, and I definitely think it's going to be some really cool stuff. So keep an eye out on that. Like, Jason's got it in the chat here again. This is the Reddit postings for some of the Basic Fun stuff. And, of course, if you want to join the Facebook group, go ahead and do that as well. Kind of keep you guys up to date on all this stuff as it gets found out. All right, so moving on. The next thing I want to talk about is this. And this I've actually got some really... Well, I was that the same promo that I showed a little while ago, or was that a different one? I haven't seen a commercial for it yet. They did do a promo that wasn't too bad, so I will give them that. So, not too bad. All right, so I want to talk about this real quick, and I've got a little bit of kind of exclusive, late-breaking news on this as well. How many of you guys have been following this project, this Kickstarter, this G-AIM plug-and-play Time Crisis system? I've been following this very closely, very interested in this. I've actually had the company that makes this reach out to me, and that's kind of what I'm going to share with you a little bit tonight. They told me something that I think is going to be really interesting, again, especially if you're in the Northeast U.S. area. But this Kickstarter is doing really, really well for them. They've got over 4,000 backers, closing in on $800,000 on this. 23 days to go. It's looking really good. So looking like this is something that's definitely going to come out. Very excited for this product. I think this is going to be really cool. I think, if you're interested in these games, yes, obviously Arcade1up did do a CAD that has these 4 games in it. But if you're interested in playing these games in your home without needing to have them in an arcade cabinet, or maybe, figuring out a way to put this in a modded cab instead, much cheaper option than Arcade1up. Now, here's the news that I want to tell you guys about this. Actually, let me go back to here. There is a gaming convention coming up here in New York on August 8th through the 10th. This is the Long Island Retro Gaming Expo. I've been to this in the past. It's a really cool show out at the Cradle of Aviation in Long Island. Yeah, you can tell I'm from New York because I say Long Island. It's a good show. They do a lot of really cool things here. They've got some really neat exhibits and expos. There's a game room where you can play arcade games, console games, all kinds of cool stuff. There's special guests. There's vendors, all kinds of neat stuff. If you've never been to this, you're going to want to check this out. August 8th through the 10th. So what I want to tell you about this is G-AIM is going to be there. They let me know earlier today that they are actually going to be at the Long Island Retro Gaming Expo showing off their product for the first time in the U.S. So if you're going to this thing, if you've been thinking about going to this thing, if you're interested in that product, they are going to be there as an exhibitor. They're going to be showing it off. So be sure to check it out. I know everybody's asking which days am I going. I'm not, unfortunately. I would love to be there. They said, I reached out to them, they reached out to me, and I kind of was talking back and forth with them. I would love to go. I would definitely love to check out that system because I've been kind of involved with it for a little while now. I have a previous commitment that same weekend. It's for another private business venture that I do. Unfortunately, I can't get to this event unless maybe I try for Sunday. Maybe Sunday, but I think my wife's got something planned for us Sunday evening, so I don't know that I can do it. We'll see. If I can get to it at all, it probably be Sunday, but I just don't know at this point. But regardless of that, you guys, if you're thinking about going to this, come on. Why is my thing not popping up? Oh, my thing slow there. Hey, I know I'm going to pronounce this wrong. Cabooses? New name in the chat. Hey, yo, just popped in, man. Another expo I won't be able to attend. Sorry to hear that. J-Rod, right around my neck of the woods, have gone several times. I know Ritual Delo's not too far away as well. PB&J, very interested in the game G-AIM. I still don't know how you pronounce that, whether it's game or G-AIM. But definitely, like I said, if you're in and around tri-state area, the Northeast area, it's a great expo to begin with, but the fact that they're going to be there now is really pretty cool. So if you want to check them out, definitely go ahead and check out this gaming expo. Yeah, I tell you, I am bummed that I can't make it to it, but it just happened to coincide with something else that I've already committed to for that weekend. It's a great place to find ladies with beards cosplaying in a men's bathroom. Yeah, well, welcome to New York. That's about all I can say on that one. All right, so I've actually covered a lot of the big news, the big things that I wanted to cover tonight. But don't go away just yet because I've got just enough time to go through a few more things real quick. I'm going to hit this one real quick for those of you who did not see it. The PlayStation Plus monthly games for August have been announced. These usually go live, I believe, the first Tuesday of the month. So by next Tuesday, I think these should be available. And they've got a couple of interesting selections this month coming up. One at least I think I'm interested in checking out. And that's this one, this Lies of P. I keep wanting to call it Life of Pi. I know that's a movie, but it's Lies of... It's like a really interesting action adventure, kind of Souls-like. Again, looks really interesting. It wasn't interesting enough for me to pay money for it and dive in and check it out, but as part of the PlayStation Plus, I'll definitely check this game out and see if it's any good. But at least this one looks like it could be really cool for anybody who was kind of curious about this game, didn't want to buy it, or haven't had a chance to pick it up yet. This is going to be one of the free games in August. They've also got DayZ, which is a game I don't really know a lot about. It says it's a hardcore survival game where up to 60 players must survive. So this looks like kind of like an online horror survival type game. Not really my cup of tea, so not something that would really do much for me. And then, of course, they've got My Hero One's Justice 2, an older PS4 game, came out in, I think, 2020. If you're a fan of anime fighting style games, you might want to check this one out. Probably not in the same league as some of like the Dragon Ball fighting games, but like I said, if you like anime style fighters, being that it's going to finally be free on PS Plus, you might want to check it out. But there you go. That is the freebie games for the month of August. Oops, let me go back to this. All right, next. And give me a second here, because as I said earlier, if you missed it earlier, my PC decided to crash right before I went live, and I was scrambling like 2 minutes before go live to get a bunch of my stuff and things that I had keyed up for the show back up. One thing I will say about that is this. I know everybody gives Microsoft a lot of crap, deservedly so, and Windows is this, Windows is that. My whole PC froze up. I had a hard reset it. I couldn't even give it the 3-finger salute. I had to hit the button, hold the button down, and hard reset it. When I came back up, brought up my browser, it reinstated all of the tabs that I had open. I had a document with my show notes for the topics that I wanted to cover. That came back without me having to save it. So, yeah, I had a little issue, but Windows saved it saved me from having to go through and find everything again. So that was pretty cool. So, I'm pretty happy the way that worked out. All right. So we got a couple of interesting things happening tomorrow, actually. And this is the first thing. So how many of you Pinball FX fans we got in the house, huh? Because tomorrow they're going to be doing their big reveal for the other 2 games that are going to be part of this next Williams pack. First one, I believe, was Pinbot, and they've been teasing what at least one of them is going to be, and they put this image out a while ago. And there's been a lot of speculation on what this could possibly be. Now, a lot of people are thinking that this is going to be Taxi. And I think a lot of people are also thinking that it could be, let's see, what was the other one? High Speed. I'll say for me, I'm actually leaning towards Taxi more than High Speed on this, and I think that makes sense. So just a quick look at this is a promo for Taxi. This is off of the Pinside website. So just a quick look at what Taxi looks like. If you go to High Speed, this is kind of an idea of what some promo stuff for High Speed. And while I think High Speed is an interesting choice, especially when you consider that they've already done The Getaway, High Speed 2, it would make sense for High Speed to come out at some point. if you look at the picture they put out here, I don't see this coinciding with this right here. It just doesn't look the same, you know. If this was going to be high speed, I would expect to see, you know, more of that shape to the car, the spoiler on the back, and things like that. Now, granted, if it's taxi, you can't really see the little taxi cab light on the top. But I'm also going to say that from the angle of this, it would be like more here anyway, so you wouldn't necessarily see a bump for it. So I'm leaning towards taxi. What do you guys think? You thinking taxi? I mean, Jason's hoping that it's Pinbot, Taxi, and Diner. All good choices for sure. The yellow gives it away. That's classic New York taxi. Yeah, that's exactly. You're right on there with me. That's exactly what I'm thinking. We need some good pinball news since he toyed. Yeah, we're not even going to go there. We're not even going to go there. So what do you guys think? We're thinking taxi, right? I mean, we'll find out tomorrow, and of course, we'll find out what the third game is as well. But I am definitely leaning towards it being taxi. Now, I do think that at some point they're going to put out high speed, since they already, like I said, they already did high speed 2. It would make sense for them to do high speed. I just don't think this is it, unless they really fool us and they do both taxi and high speed on this. But that would be kind of weird with, you know, kind of sandwich with Pinbot, you know. Maybe do something, you know, 3 different ones that, you know, are different styles of games. Yeah, this is true too. This is very true too. We'll see if they put one out and what it's got on it. I don't even want to speculate. I honestly don't even know at this point what they're planning on doing. So I don't have any news for them tonight. But guys, I don't know about you, but I am pretty excited to see what they have planned for this for tomorrow. I'm also hoping that at some point this comes out for the VR. Hopefully it will come to At Games at some point if they're still doing stuff with them. Again, we'll just have to wait and see. Yeah, agree, Steve. I'm hoping it's coming to VR as well. In addition, I don't know if there's. I think there still are. There were a bunch of tables on sale on Steam as well for Pinball Effects. So be sure. I didn't pull the thing up. I don't have it readily available. But I did see the other day that a bunch of their tables were on sale. I think they are through the beginning of August. So if there's some that you haven't picked up for PC on Steam and you want to, check out Steam, check out Pinball Effects, and see what games they have on sale. Sorry about that. That was me queuing up the next thing. Is that game's not getting any more? I don't know. I really don't know what the deal is there. I mean, they still, you know, as far as I know, they still have their partnership with Zen, so I can't imagine why they wouldn't get Williams games as part of that. But we'll have to wait and see what's going on. All right. So I know a bunch of you guys saw this. Biggie brought it up earlier, so I wanted to touch on this real quick. For those of you Nintendo Switch owners, if you are subscribed to Nintendo Switch Online, Mario Paint is now available. The SNES game. This is really cool that they did this, something a little different. So I actually have not had a chance to check this out yet, to go on my Switch and check this out. I would be curious, for those of you Switch 2 owners, have you tried this yet with the mouse option on the Joy-Con controllers, and does it work? Because it feels like a perfect, a perfect option for that. Actually, well, I think I may have answered my own question. Hang on. I should have watched this whole video. Because, yes, it's got mouse controls. So if you own a Switch 2 and you've got these new Joy-Cons, that's something you're going to be able to do with this. It makes sense. Oh, you can even plug in a USB mouse. Oh, I wonder if you can do that with the Can you do that with the original Switch? Yes. I'm going to have to try that. That's so cool. I did not know that they did that. Yeah, Virtual Delo, you can use the Joy-Con like a mouse. I'm definitely psyched to check this out with an actual USB mouse plugged into my Switch. I'm going to have to check this out. So this is really cool. So for those of you who didn't know, yes, Mario Paint now available on the Super NES. So this is pretty cool that they've added this. Now, in addition, like I was saying yesterday, they sold adapters to use GameCube controllers before. It would be cool if they had an adapter so you can use the original. Yeah, that actually would be pretty cool. But, I'm okay with just plugging a USB mouse in if that works. For sure. All right, so did talk about the fact that Pinball FX has their thing tomorrow to announce, the rest of these tables. The other thing going on tomorrow is this. So tomorrow at 6 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Eastern, Nintendo is going to be doing their next Nintendo Direct. I'm psyched to check this out, see what kind of info they are going to put out there. I'm sure they're going to touch on a bunch of Switch 2 stuff coming out later on this year, coming up into the fall, maybe even Christmas time. Although they usually do another one of these when we get a little closer to Christmas, I feel, for like the holiday season. But it'll be interesting to see what they show off. Be curious to see if they announce any more GameCube games coming to the Switch 2. I know this is going to give me serious FOMO for getting a Switch 2, which is something I'm not planning on doing just yet. But we'll wait and see what kind of crazy stuff they announce. Listen, with these Nintendo Directs, and tend to be hit or miss. Just like the State of Plays or the Xbox Directs or whatever they call them. Sometimes they're great. Sometimes they announce some really fantastic stuff. Sometimes they're just kind of eh. So we'll see which category this falls into tomorrow. But I will definitely be checking this out at some point to see what they have going on. As a matter of fact, if you want to watch along with somebody, I believe I saw Michael B. put out something that he was going to be live streaming this and commenting as it was going. So be sure to check out Michael B.'s show tomorrow as this is going on. If you want to chat with him, if you want to see his reactions to whatever they announce live. So those live reaction things tend to be kind of fun, and Mike's good at those. So be sure to check that out. JJ, I got another notification today from Target that they have Switch. I'm assuming that's Switch 2 back in stock. Don't you love autocorrect? I think we should. Oh, what the live band meters? That would be interesting. And wow, what do you know? Just about to hit 9 o'clock, and I got through all the news I want. So that's pretty good. I'm glad you guys stuck with me for the whole show. Let me know your thoughts on some of this stuff coming up. I definitely think there's some really cool stuff to look forward to later on this year, for sure. As most of you know, I normally redirect over to Arcades Anonymous. I didn't see them put up the info for their stream when I set this up. I didn't have time before the show to go back and check and do the redirect. So I apologize. It's not going to be a redirect to Arcades Anonymous, but if you want to check them out, certainly go over and check them out as soon as the show is done. One last thing I did want to touch on, and Ritual Dell, stick around. Don't go anywhere just yet, because I'm giving you a huge shout out and a thank you for this one, because a couple of shows back, Ritual Dello coined the phrase the Billbarians. And I think that's going to stick. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to be changing the memberships. Right now, the memberships are just say support me. I think I'm going to be changing it to call the members, the actual members, the paying members to the channel, the Billbarians. So that is something that is going to be coming up sometime in August. I will put that out there. I'm trying to think of some other perks and different things as well for the Billbarians, whoever joins, whoever sticks around, and whatever. So thank you, Ritual Della, for the idea. Definitely appreciate it, and there is more to come. And, of course, Jason, right on the money as always. Be sure you check out Arcades Anonymous. And, of course, Brooklyn Menace coming in. I don't know if you're going to the Long Island Retro Gaming Expo this year. If you're going there, keep an eye out for G-AIM, the guys who are making the Time Crisis console. They told me today that they're going to be there. So you might, if you're thinking about going there, you might want to check them out. So just wanted to put that out there to you, brother, because I know sometimes you go to that show. So be sure to check that out. Anyway, that's going to do it, guys. Going out, Arcades Anonymous. I will see you guys. There probably will not be a show next week, but I should be back in 2 weeks. And keep an eye out, because I might be popping up in some other places and some other shows as well coming up in the near future. Yeah, the Long Island Retro Gaming Expo. They're going to be there. So if you're going, you might want to check them out. All right, guys, that's going to do it for tonight. Thanks again for sticking with me, and I will see you guys on the next one. Take care, enjoy the week, and happy gaming.